Well, let's run through some quick introductions and then we'll hand the mic over to Sharon. My name is Alex Hughes. I'm the Business Development and Membership Director here at the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce. Let's start with Mr. Dan Spots. How you doing?
Pretty good, Alex. Thank you very much. Dan from Columbia Gorge Community College, working with Columbia Gorge ESD right now and doing a full court press to try to resolve the crisis of affordable childcare in the area. Between the ESD and the college, we have about $2 million in federal funding with some looming expenditure deadlines. The ESD in particular needs to expend $500,000 by the end of June. The colleges is a year later. But in terms of putting out that type of money, you need to be thinking about procurement deadlines and everything else. We are taking a really, really close look at trying to renovate the old Chenoweth Middle School. It is in sad shape. It hasn't been used since 2009. There's a number of repairs that need to take place there. But between what we have now and the prospect of state funding in particular, we had a meeting with Senator Hansel yesterday. We're going to be meeting with Senator Bonham next. We think we're at least halfway there. It's not going to be cheap. We're looking at about a $15 million renovation project. So not cheap at all. But ESD would consolidate its operations in the middle school and contribute toward the operational cost. That would be of assistance. We're doing a full court press. The outreach came 2 weeks ago at the federal level, getting this on the radar of our senators and representatives on both sides of the river. We need to do something about this issue in the county. We all know it's a child care desert, and we've got a good core team with the city, the county, many other players, the school district. So I don't know. We're hitting a decision point here. We either put money into it and just build it, and they will come and continue to look for funding, or continue to talk about this issue and not be able to resolve it. So anyhow, I'm happy to share a lot more information. There's a lot more going on than that, but just for your awareness. Thanks.
Thanks, Dan. I got a couple questions with you that I'll reach out afterward.
Thank you, Alex.
Mr. Scott Radford, good morning. How you doing, sir?
Good morning, Scott Radford, Columbia Gorge Food Bank. I think Sharon's going to speak today a little bit about the organization, so I'll make it short. We did receive a great donation the other day from the LDS Church, just under 40,000 pounds of food, which pretty much doubled our inventory in this facility. So we're working hard of getting that in, getting it all received, and then started getting it out to the community members.
Excellent. Great news. Scott McKay, good morning.
Good morning, Alex. Good morning, everyone. Scott McKay, Community Liaison for Slippers of Care. The Slippers of Care is an initiative of Age Plus, which is a nonprofit in the state of Oregon. And in the past, I forget who, but Stephanie Hooper, who's the president of Age Plus, has spoken here at Governmental Affairs. But they are having their annual Ageless Awards coming up on April 20th. And Chamber's been very nice in putting out that information out. And so has Rob Garrett. He's been using his social media machine to get the word out. But it will be held at the Mid-Columbia Senior Center from around 11:45 till 1. And we invite folks to come and pick up a lunch from Meals on Wheels. And then we will have some snacks provided by Cherry Heights Living. They've done that many times for us. And Elder there, the manager there, and the great, fantastic snacks. And then, so they're going to be recognizing one couple and 3 individuals from the state of Oregon. And one they're recognizing is Edmo, he grew up in Saliva Village before he moved to Portland. So has a Gorge connection. He's a Native American storyteller and writer and poet. The people may know that we have an Ageless Awards in Wasco County. We've done that for 3 years, recognizing older adults, 75 and older. And that idea came from the fact that the Age Plus organization has been doing their Ageless Awards. So it's a great opportunity. It recognizes folks 75 and older, and this points out once again that those folks that over 75, you aren't put out the pasture, you still have the capability of contributing to your community. So we would welcome anyone to come by 11:45 to 1 o'clock, April 20th at the Mid-Columbia Senior Center. And once again, thanks to Rob for allowing us to have that event. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Well said. Thanks, Scott. Mr. Rob Garrett, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. I'm glad you didn't put me right after Dan. Dan has that radio voice and kind of makes me sound, a little wimpy. He's got that dark voice, I love it, but can't compete, brother, I tell you. So, but no, Scott's right. I'm going to piggyback on top of what Scott said. That week of August 20th is a big week, as everyone knows. That's Cherry Festival week. So on the 20th, we have the Ageless Awards watch party, as Scott told you about. But the next day, on Friday evening, the 21st, we have the Got Your Six band in our parking lot. And since the weather will be fantastic, because I've ordered it, just so you know, we're going to have a parking lot dance out there. We're going to have the Point Man Ministries cooking up some hamburgers. Pepsi will be bringing some soda pop by to sell. The Toyota dealership, Gorge Toyota, will be providing a barbecue for that. I'm looking for other donations or sponsors for some meat, some hamburgers and some buns. Friends, Family Bakers will be bringing hamburger buns. It's going to be a big deal. We'll be taking donations. It's a free dance, so come on out. I know there'll be other things going on in town, but maybe make the circle. We're going to start that dance about 6. And of course, everybody knows that Saturday morning at 8 a.m., we will have the Cherry Festival breakfast here at the center, where we will coordinate the Royal Ann and Andy's Little Royals, I think they call that. Is that correct, Alex? Am I saying that right?
Yep.
I'm a rookie on that one, sort of. But anyway, it'll be a big deal having breakfast. I can't remember what the menu is. I think it's sausage and eggs and hash browns, or biscuits and gravy. I think that might be what it is. Corliss Marsh made that call. It's going to be a good breakfast regardless. So, but anyway, the center's going to be hopping. So, call us if you got any questions, since we have new phones, like Matt Cole said, and come on in and see us. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. Phil Brady, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Very good this morning. Phil Brady, Wasco County Commissioner. And I put I've changed my email, my personal email. I dropped it into the chat there. It's the philbradytd@gmail. My old personal one at Embark Mail is going away after a while. You can also reach me at the Wasco County. They'll be at wascocounty.org. And I was out at the food bank on, Saturday, and when Senator Wyden came by, and I took a bunch of pictures. So Sharon, I'll compile those pictures here, and as at the end of your presentation, I can run these pictures there. That'll be good. Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Tanya Brumley, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Tanya Brumley with Northwest Natural.
Thanks for being here, Tanya. And last but not least, Matt Cole, good morning.
Morning. Get my coffee. Matt Cole, Direct Line IT. Not a lot going on with us per se, other than bringing on a new compliancy as a service module that allows us to provide all types of compliancy across the board for any type of industry. As Rob said, we just got done doing their phone system. We're actually getting ready to do the Chamber's phone system tomorrow. So that's kind of been a new thing for us. We figured out a way to probably cut most phone system costs at least close to 50% in most cases. So if you're interested, you can talk to us about that. Aside from that, not a lot going on. So glad to be here.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so guest of honor, Miss Sharon Thornberry, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you,
Perfect.
Alex.
Of course. So what's there's some buzz about the food bank. I know April 13th is this ribbon cutting. What else do we need to know? What's going on?
Well, you've got the PowerPoint, so can we start
I
it?
do. Yeah, and I can share screen with you if you can pull them up as well.
I don't have it on the computer I'm on because I
Okay,
had to switch computers first thing this morning.
gotcha. Let me see if I can do that real quick.
Hey, while we're doing that, what time is that ribbon cutting?
5 o'clock on the
13th?
13th.
13th.
Yes. Yep.
I want to put that on
Week
my
from
calendar.
today.
Okay, I got to get that on my calendar right now.
Sharon, my apologies. I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty getting into Google at the moment.
Well, let's see.
I can share my screen. I have it up, and then Sharon can talk if we want to do
Okay.
that.
That would be great, Scott.
Scott, go ahead. Yep.
All right. And figure out how to do that real quick.
Down at the bottom, if you have permission, there's a little green box that says share screen.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh,
It's working.
all right. So, Columbia Gorge Food Bank, we serve Wasco, Sherman, and Hood River counties. Do you want to go to the next slide, Scott?
Yeah, let me figure out how to, I can't even see anything here from here, so. Sorry, technical problems.
Okay,
And I do have them pulled up on mine if we want to switch over as well.
Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
you'd think after so many years of doing this, we'd be good at it, but it still catches us.
I still struggle with it. Try to find a file and sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
Scott, do you think you can stop screen sharing and then it'll allow me to?
Yeah, let me,
Go back down to the bottom and it'll stay stop share.
yeah, it's not showing anything, so I'm getting there.
Where your share screen button was.
Yeah, that's disappeared since. There we go.
There you go.
Okay, it's
There.
off.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
It's the top of the shared screen has the stop
Ah.
shared screen.
All depends on the computer.
Here we go.
All right.
Excellent,
Okay.
Alex. Thank you.
All right, Alex, let's go to the second slide.
Okay.
We skipped
Who did
one.
you?
Go back. There we go.
we go.
All right. So, just to give you some numbers of where we're at, and I just want to remind people, we started out here 7 years ago was when I came out to the Dalles originally at the end of October. And we took over the food bank distribution from Mid-Columbia Community Action at the time. And we had 16 partner agencies that we were working with. And we were serving about 3,000 people a month. Today we're serving over 6,000 people a month. We distributed, and they were distributing less than 1 million pounds of food, maybe 750,000 pounds. We're distributing 2 million pounds annually. We have 46 community partners we work with. And in addition to the 2 million pounds, In the last fiscal year, we served, and during the pandemic, we distributed COVID outreach boxes from the Oregon Health Authority, and that was over 150,000 pounds, over 4,000 boxes. So that was in addition to the other inventory that we run through our warehouse. That program has ended, but it was a huge supply for us. So Alex, next slide. All right. So what is a regional food bank? A lot of people ask me that. Why is it different? Aren't you just like fish? That's one of the questions I get. So what a regional food bank does, and there are 21 around the state and serving Clark County, Washington, that are part of the Oregon Food Bank Network. They coordinate hunger relief donations. We distribute equitable food assistance across the region. We are part of the disaster preparedness and response network. We do our best to provide leadership and education on issues of hunger and poverty. And we support activities that create personal and community food security. So we're a central location for food to come to, and food comes from a variety of sources: local, Fred Meyer, Safeway. There's a lot of other donors. The fruit industry, I can't even name them all. And as Scott just said, we've just gotten our first shipment from the LDS Church. We are part of the Feeding America Network, which is the national network of food banks, and we are a branch of Oregon Food Bank. So we take in donations. We also work with Azure, Diamond, all the fruit company, Duckwall, all of those folks. We receive donations from. The new warehouse, I'll talk more in a few minutes about how the new warehouse made that possible. For the last 5 years, we had been, we moved in January, so 4.5 years, we'd been in 2,000 square feet, and that included our walk-in cooler and freezer. So as I get into this, you'll see what a difference our new warehouse is making. So we can go to the next slide. So it's more than the emergency food system. We have been able to take in donations. Google gave us $50,000 last year to support community food systems programming. And we distributed funds for SNAP Match. We worked with the Native organizations here and Latinx organizations to fund projects. We did propane vouchers, which help people actually be able to cook at their sites at the INLU sites. And we've provided a lot of food. The other thing that happened, like I said, we had 16 partners when we started. There was no service to a lot of the rural communities, especially in Wasco and Sherman County. There was one food pantry in Sherman County, open 1 day a month, and there was nothing in South Wasco. We now have pantries in Dufur, Wamak, and Maupin, and in Rufus. So we've been able to spread the service. And I was just having a conversation with somebody about Grass Valley. We're also supporting community food systems development with an organizing project called FEAST, which is some food, education, agriculture solutions together. A model that I developed at Oregon Food Bank about 12 years ago, maybe more. And we've used that in South Wasco and Odell. And the South Wasco Alliance, who's doing a ton of community food systems work, we did their feast the Saturday before we all went into lockdown. And they've just really done a lot of work. They have a gardening network, a producers network. We're actually purchasing food from producers in South Wasco County and other parts of the two counties that then gets distributed through our food pantries. The disaster resilience piece, one of the key things I talked about at the meeting with Senator Wyden last week is the blankets. I started receiving blankets when I was at Lynn Benton Food Share, I don't know, 2 decades ago or more. It was over 2 decades ago, maybe close to 3, when the DOD started making them available. And then when I came to Oregon Food Bank, from that organization. I brought the blankets program with me, which had not been done statewide. And right now there's 1,200 disaster blankets in our warehouse. This has been really important. One of the times that we really made use of the blankets was, if you'll remember, when the natural gas went out in Hood River a couple of winters ago, and we distributed 2 pallets of blankets in a blink of an eye through partners over there, including Northwest Natural Gas and other ones. We also have done conferences or seminars on child hunger here, and worked on those issues. And as we get more into our building, we'll be able to use that for anti-hunger education and advocacy. And we also have a learning kitchen that's going to be able to be utilized by partners in our new facility. Alex, you can go to the next slide. So
Sharon?
I've talked about, yes.
Fast question on that kitchen, learning
Sure.
kitchen, a teaching kitchen, commercial kitchen. What's the setup?
Okay, it's not a commercial kitchen, it's a teaching kitchen. So
Okay.
it's not a culinary arts kitchen, it's for teaching home cooks.
Do you have different stations then, teaching stations?
It's flexible. I'll be
Uh-huh.
happy to show you how it works, Dan, when you come out.
Great.
We have
I'll check it
kits
out.
set up for each cook to have. And we set it up so it could be both a community room and a teaching kitchen. It's really nice kitchen.
Awesome. I look forward to
Yeah.
seeing it. Thank you,
Okay.
Sharon.
So you see pictures here of food pantries. One of the big things that we do every year, and we're gearing up for right now, is our migrant farm worker distributions. Those had stopped previous to us coming out here. And it was one of the first things that I put back into service. The other thing that we started when we came that had not been going on was special distributions to the native population, and trying to tailor our food to their food needs and their special needs because of the lack of cooking facilities. There's just a ton of ways that we interact with the community. Alex, we go on. So this just gives you an idea of who some of our partner agencies are. Like I said, we're working with 48 partners. We're really proud that we started working with the health community, both MCMC and One Community Health, and Providence has funded us for some of our work here. So we reach out, and then through our partner agencies, we reach out even further. Salvation Army has been closed for a while. They reopened this week with their pantry, and they were one of our last pantries that was simply giving out boxes, not having a shopping pantry. And now Salvation Army is a shopping pantry, and we help them with shelving so that they and help them design their setup. And all of our pantries are shopping pantries. We don't hand out at the pantries. They don't hand out food boxes. We also have a mini pantry up at the DHS office, so people can come in, get some extra food if they need it. And people are not limited in how often they can come. The other partnership that we have that I'm really proud of is the Oregon Child Development Corporation. And both during migrant farm worker season and year round with seasonal farm workers, we do a monthly distribution of food at the sites in the Dalles and Odell and Parkdale. And y'all feel free to stop me for questions or save them to the end, either way. So just some numbers. What does this mean? And I'm talking about Wasco County here. 1 in 4 Oregonians sought food assistance since the start of COVID-19. The last data we have for Feeding America, which is our best source for this, they'll release 2022 data soon. But for Wasco County, childhood food insecurity is at 16.6%. The overall estimated food insecurity rate is 10.8%. And as I said before, 6,000 plus neighbors a month served. The thing that I have to tell you is these numbers are based on a certain amount of poverty. 200% of poverty, I think. But what we know is that rents and everything cost us more. So Alex, you want to go to the next slide? So, so not only has the pandemic caused us trouble, but an awful lot of things about economics have been the economy that we have caused us more trouble. So there's been a 12% food increase. I had one of the pantries tell me that they got a donation last week from one of the grocery stores here in town, and they were shocked when they looked at the price of a whole chicken was $23 had come through the donation. That's unheard of. I mean, we never, even a little, $7.50 would have been a lot for a chicken in the past, and it would have been an economical way to make a meal, but it's not anymore. 97% median increase, home prices increase over the last 5 years. We all know that. We know the rent's gone up. We know the cost of buying a house has gone up, and energy prices have gone up by over 31% over the last year. So the living wage, this comes from MIT. They do a living wage index, and the last of their data is from 2019. The living wage for Wasco County was $71,832. Median house price was household income was $54,000, way below. And the wage gap is over $11 an hour with the current minimum wage. And we know we have one of the highest minimum wages around. So folks are really struggling. And I was watching the price of gas went back up this week, 12 cents a gallon. And that's for us here in the Dalles. If you get out into the rural areas, if you have to buy gas at one of those rural stations, it can be a lot more. So we're growing to serve the community. We moved into our new over 11,000 square foot warehouse with 2,000 square foot of cold storage. We can hold an entire truckload of fresh produce. We have the learning kitchen, space for public classes, meetings, and trainings. So you come to the space, we have what we call, to the warehouse, we have what we call a flex space, which adjoins our kitchen, and it's between our kitchen and the warehouse. And it's a space where we can hold public meetings. In fact, we have something scheduled with the school district, Scott. Is that? Yeah, we have something scheduled with the school district now that they're going to use our space. And we've equipped ourselves with chairs and things that we need to do that. So this is a very flexible space and there to be used by the community. $4 million for this project. I have to tell you, the pandemic has been an interesting time to build a facility. The prices went up tremendously, and supply chain issues and mistakes. Our cooler door, which is huge, it weighed over a ton. It took 3 tries for them to get us the right one because they kept sending the wrong one. We're soon going to co-locate Windy River Gleaners, actually on April 25th. Windy River Gleaners, who currently distributes out by big gyms in a terrible building that they pay $1,100 a month for. They will be distributing for our facility. The Dalles Community Backpack Program will move in the fall and start packing their backpacks in our facility. We're going to pack our migrant farm worker boxes there, and we have a lot more possibilities. We were the recipients of a new truck funded by the Roundhouse Foundation, which is Columbia Sportswear money, Gert Boyle's estate, and they funded this truck, which has expanded our acquisition and delivery capabilities. The other thing is that Fish Food Bank is one of the not the largest, but one of the larger food pantries, and they had been accepting because our warehouse was so small. They had been accepting their donations directly from Oregon Food Bank. They were being trucked out. That will end on May 1st, and all of the food will come through our facility and be delivered with this truck. And that's Mike Shutt, who a lot of people in this community know, and does an outstanding job. We also have a dock, which we never had before. We didn't have a loading dock, and now we have a loading dock, which makes our life a lot easier to pack up the big trucks and take in the donations. Alex, okay. And as we mentioned, we have a ribbon cutting ceremony coming up on April 13th at 5 p.m. There'll be a blessing from a native elder. This is one of the early sketches of the building. I love the sketch. Some things have changed, details have changed on the outside of the building, but we're getting there. We're waiting on paving because we had to wait until the weather got warmer. And I don't think it'll be done by next Thursday. And we've got some parking available to us across the street, but we really hope everybody will come out and see what we've done and get a good look at the warehouse and our community rooms, and see what the possibilities are for the community using this facility as well as us. Go to the next one. So what can you do? You can volunteer. We have a lot of volunteers now. We have lots of volunteer groups coming in. Scott mentioned the LDS Church. They've been tremendous support to us. Coventry Church, is that the name, Scott?
Covenant Christian.
Covenant Christian Church has been in, and there are lots of others. We had the Young Distinguished Women's Group from the college, I think. They're associated with CJCC last week. So we have volunteer opportunities for both individuals and groups. You can donate food or funds to us. If you're wanting to do a food drive, we have a most wanted food list. You could host a food and funds drive at your business or your facility. Help us advocate for food access and equity. We still have a few places in the region that we'd like to have better access. We also have funding in hand, but we don't know what the timeline is going to play out for a mobile food pantry that will travel around the region, and it will particularly be an asset to us in times of disaster. During the wildfires, those things that we know are going to come up. And then stay informed about hunger issues. Join our mailing list. Follow us online on both Instagram and Facebook. Questions? This is our old truck, and it's one of our distributions out at Celilo.
Sharon, not a question, but just a note of how inspiring this is. I remember when you were talking about it, doing the initial planning, and to pull it all together, a facility of this magnitude and all of the things that you're doing there. Wow, just congratulations. Well done. This
Thank
isn't
you, Dan.
anything else like this. I just, it's incredible.
Well, more than one person called me the crazy food bank lady. I will tell all you that I'm retiring, and there will be a new person in my seat, hopefully on May 1st, and we'll work together for a couple of months. And then I am sadly leaving the Dalles and moving to Albany to live with my daughter. So I tried really hard to get her a job up here, to have her get a job up here, but it didn't work.
What you do?
She's an executive director of a memory care facility in Cottage Grove right now. And then the corporation she works for is going to open a new facility in Sweet Home. And so she'll be moving up there. So she has an LPN. She was a licensed practical nurse, but she's been working in senior care facilities since she was 17. And she's now, that's 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So it's her passion.
Well, let's keep that in mind, because you never know what happens, and we'll just lasso both of you and get you back up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ron Wyden plans to keep me busy.
Sounds like.
Believe that.
Sharon, can I share my slides and you can talk through them a bit?
Sure, if that's okay with Alex, we have time. Yeah.
Go ahead.
My dad taught me not to leave slides on a screen for very long. And
Okay, so
yeah, go ahead. This is the artwork. It's really impressive.
yeah, one of the best features of our facility, which should be in my slideshow, is the artwork. It's just amazing. And this is all community art. And then when there will be a mural on the front of the building that's done by Tomo, which is a local native artist. So this artwork was done, some of it is individual artists. That particular artwork, the things that are framed, came from OSU's Art About Agriculture. That quilt was actually created here in the Dalles over 20 years ago for the state fair for the Gleaners booth. And now it's proudly hung here. That's something kids created.
So
That's our flex space.
Yeah.
That was a great place to take a picture from, Phil.
Yeah.
And that's looking down the warehouse towards that door that's been such a problem child. That's our office space, donations coming in,
Office
places to sort. You can just imagine what it was like to do this in 2,000 square feet versus where we're at now.
I was impressed.
like-
These racks, the pallets, it's got 2 pallets deep and they slide forward. Imagine
Yep.
a refrigerator always having things up front. It's great.
Yeah, they're pushback racking, which we're getting used to.
This is your network.
Yep, that's the network.
I do have another question on this, Sharon. You know, a lot of us are thinking of the eventuality of a Cascadia event and likelihood of some level of isolation here with travel issues in the gorge. Does this facility serve potentially as a backup for regional resiliency, emergency food resiliency?
Yeah, it does. And we're trying to equip it with things that our staff could be independent in the building. And eventually, we don't have a generator yet, but it will have a generator. And in the future, that's one of the things on the hopeful list or acquisition list, is to go after funding for a generator. Originally, this was going to be a much smaller facility, and I was pretty adamant about the fact that we are the end of the line coming from the east, because if Cascadia hits, I-84 is going to be cut off somewhere around Hood River. And so, and then things are going to be able to get to us from the east. So, I mean, from the west. So yeah, from the east. So I just wanted to make sure that we had a facility that was properly equipped and large enough that we could be a hub. I know that they're saying Redmond's going to be the hub, but the airport in Redmond, but that's all moving stuff by air. It's not moving it by ground. And so I think this facility will be important for that. And that's another reason that we want to keep a good stock of the emergency blankets on hand and water. We move a lot of water to not just to the houseless population, but during the fires, we've moved a lot of water, and we've had really good support from local businesses to keep that water in stock.
DHS and OHA's, a lot of their emergency stuff is stored in Umatilla.
Yeah.
So, you know, that gives us kind of the hub to come this way, and then Redmond to go that, you know, further out and kind of south.
Sylvan mentioned to me that you also have air filtration. So could this be used for during smoke events as a clear your lung space?
Right. We do have pretty sophisticated air filtration systems. And we also have, will have one of the smoke monitors mounted And so it will be on the smoke monitor map. And there are monitors out in the orchards, but there was not one in the proper of the Dalles. So we invested in the smoke monitor, and we'll have it hooked up and on the map so people can actually see what the air quality is in the port.
Right.
Other questions?
Sharon, I do have one. Pregnant women, what are some of the resources for them when they approach you guys? For
When
infant
they
nutrition?
approach us, well, first of all, we refer them to WIC, because the Women, Infant, and Children's Program is a very specially designed program to take care of pregnant women and children up to the age of 5. And so they will put together a program of products that they can get from the grocery store that are going to provide proper nutrition for both pregnant and lactating mothers, and for the kids that, like I said, up to the age of 5. So that's first. Secondly is we'll send them to our food pantries, and they could, because we have shopping pantries, they get the opportunity to shop for what they need. And we've taken great strides. We bring in about $2,000 worth of produce a week from Pacific Fruit, and that's in addition to whatever we could purchase or have donated locally. So the amount of produce that we move has gone up considerably. When I started in food banking nearly 4 decades ago, we never had anything fresh. It was all shelf-stable product. And that's one of the huge strides. And I worked with gleaning groups for, 15 years or more. And they were the ones that brought in the produce and got it to low-income people. And now through the food bank, we're moving, tons and tons of produce and getting fresh product to people. And I'm really proud of that fact that we can provide better nutrition to folks.
Excellent.
Sharon, how is it going with getting protein in the form of meats or seafoods or anything like that? How's that? You mentioned the chicken thing. Like I'm thinking that must have been some special chicken, organic or natural or something. I certainly wouldn't even buy a chicken.
It was like, well, I'll take this example. Fred Meyer has ham on sale this week. The sale price on the ham gets you a ham for about $10. If you look at what the regular price on that ham is, it's 3 times that much. So it's not easy. We get protein, but not nearly as much as we'd like to have. We've tried to figure out a deal on local beef, and that's pretty exorbitant by the time we get through buying it. Scott, what was our last price? $7 a pound or something?
Yeah, and it has to be packed through USDA facility to be distributed. So there's, other complications other than like, here's your animal.
Right, it's limited. They're not easy access for having USDA inspected beef or any type of meat locally.
Anything. Yeah.
Let alone having it butchered.
You got to go to Redmond, or Prineville for it.
Now, Oregon, I started 20 years ago advocating to get a state inspection program, and it came through this past year. In fact, that was one of the calls I got from Wyden's office this year, is Sharon, we finally did this. But it isn't in effect yet. Once it's in effect, it'll be easier as long as our local processors can gear up for it. It won't cost them as much as a full USDA setup would. And so then they'll be the state, and also they don't have to pay for that USDA inspector. So once that's set up, we'll have better access to meat. But right now it's tough. We get salmon, pretty good supply of salmon, especially if the runs are good, because Canadian Pacific processors, which I worked with years ago. I've done a lot of things at the food bank, so when I talk about this, but we worked with them, and they're the ones that harvest the eggs. They get the salmon to harvest the eggs, as it's called, at the dams. And then they process the salmon and give it to the food banks. So we get a lot of salmon in the right times of year, and we get some interesting donations, but we're not we're not getting as much as we certainly could use or would like to have.
Seems to kind of shift in waves. You know, during the pandemic, there wasn't any chicken in the system. There was no beef in the system. So we saw a lot more canned items, you know, canned chicken, canned tuna. Right now we're on a low of that stuff, and we're kind of getting some of the basics and some of the Tyson stuff back again, but it's a constant shift, and it's really difficult to manage.
Right. Well, throughout the pandemic, when the processing facilities were shutting down, they weren't even being able to serve their paying customers. So they weren't making their donations. And the pandemic has had a lot of that effect on food processing. That's the reason these LDS donations are so interesting, because they come from their own farms. They're processed by volunteer groups in very high quality processing facilities. And it's really it's good food. It's really good food. So I'm hoping that's a partnership that's going to continue for us. Not every regional food bank in the state has that partnership. And I'm very pleased to know that we have it here.
So Sharon, with you mentioning the LDS, I've recently driven by the Mennonite, I guess you'd call it a ranch out there, outside of Hermiston area. Does that, and it looked like it has several different entities of food sources, similar to Azure maybe, but do they process or do anything that coordinates with the food banks in the state?
You know what? I've never heard the Mennonite Ranch mentioned. And as I said, I've been doing this a long time, but you know what? I'll raise that issue and ask about it. And I just want to go back to Azure for a second. We really have started working with Azure. And when they open, we're hoping that when they open the store here in the Dalles, we'll also be able to have a Fresh Alliance run, which is where we pick up our perishable product from grocery stores, that will work with Azure. But they've been a great donor for us too. And they're actually developing into a more pounds coming to us, and interesting products, things that make it not, add a little luxury sometimes. Even if it's a fancy mustard, it makes a difference.
I think that's the Hutterians, not the Mennonites out in that area.
Hutterians. Okay.
They really have a really big section outside of Spokane, and they own about 100,000 acres in Washington plus.
Okay. Well, there's definitely a group right there outside of Hermiston. I think, yeah, is that Hermiston right outside of Pendleton?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
So and have you, when you have your connection with Azure, there, they took the Kramer's building and are having the bakery that's going to be opening up. I want to say the grand opening is supposed to be in May, or maybe May next month. So I don't know if there might be some resources there, but fresh baked breads and things. It should be pretty exciting to watch that grow.
Yeah, we're having that conversation with them.
Awesome.
Because we get, you saw stacks of bread in the, my computer that would not work earlier decided to work suddenly. Don't ask me why.
So yeah, ideally we'll add Azure's, if it works out, into our Fresh Alliance run, which is a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We go to Safeway and Fred Meyer's, pick up the stuff that's getting close to date, a lot of bakery items, a lot of like some of the food preps that they have that doesn't sell, stuff that's just too close to get, to be put back on the shelf. That program, it's 3 days a week we do that, and it's anywhere between 200 to 700 pounds a day. So that stuff comes in, gets sorted out, and goes out to all of the partner agencies. So it's really nice to have that, that protein or that donation selection to come in. So hopefully we'll add as yours to that, and then maybe in the future it might be the Walmart in the Dalles to add to that.
Well, my biggest concern is what's going to happen to the Safeway store for us here and across the state, because now they're part of the Kroger chain. They're in that Kroger buyout, and they could close the store, or they could. The other thing that they have to do as part of this consolidation is they have to sell off some of those stores. So we don't know, or create another chain that is sufficiently separate from the Kroger chain to allow the buyout. So that's all. We're going to see how it plays out. I was a Kroger employee back in the 80s for 6 or 7 years, and a stockholder. But it's interesting to watch. The food industry has consolidated so much in the years that I've been doing this. I mean, you can't, it tracks back to very few actual owners these days and controllers.
I think there's 5 to 7 owners, just like there's only 3 companies that do waste management in the United States now. It's all consolidated back. And
but what I'd love to see this community have is a Winco. Winco's an incredibly, number one, they have good prices, and number two, they are incredible supporters of food banking.
Do we know whether there are any constraints on that space if something were to happen to Safeway in terms of non-compete with other grocery chains, anything like that?
I have no idea. And that'll also be, I mean, I don't know what the city or the county may have put as a constraint. I know that's possible. So that's a county question or a city question. I doubt it, because very few big chains would sign on with that. But I will tell you, when they closed a Safeway store in Albany, and when they sold the building, it had a non-compete clause, and it can't be a grocery store for, I don't know, so many decades. And it's a nice big grocery store facility with walk-in coolers and all that kind of thing. The regional food bank didn't need it. They already had their facility. And it's in an underserved area of Albany where there aren't stores. So those things can hindrance having other stores come in.
Dan, are you thinking childcare space?
It's in the back of my mind.
Yeah. It could make a great childcare space. And childcare is a huge issue we hear from our recipients. I mean, I can't imagine.
We put a lot of time and energy into the business modeling for childcare. We will be conducting a community survey. I hope to launch it next week through the ESD website. The key is going to be the infant and toddler demand in the region. There's a 4-to-1 teaching ratio requirement there. And so, the difference between 46 infants and toddlers and 72 makes a huge difference in the operational deficit. You add another 0 on the deficit. So it's a challenge, but the survey will give us data. And I know we're going off topic here. We probably ought to schedule something different on this topic. I could bury your information right now.
Well, thank you all very much. Please come out and see us. If you can't come to the ribbon cutting, find another time. Oregon Food Bank is going to hold a donor recognition event, grand opening in May, on May 20th. So there's another opportunity then if you can't join us on April 13th. Yeah, I mean, we had incredibly good support. I didn't talk about donors, but Ann Nato Campbell made the purchase of the building and the property possible at the beginning of the pandemic. So with $1 million donation, and got us kicked off. So
Well, Sharon,
we've
thanks
had
so
them.
much for your time. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
And all
Thank you,
the
Alex.
great work that you guys have done. I feel like I could talk to you all day long. I've just been taking nothing but notes, and I've got a whole Word document on my other screen here just full. So yeah, thank you so much. Really
All
appreciate
right.
your time.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.